mentioned at the top, first woman since Danica Patrick in 2018 to compete in NASCAR Cup Series racing. I mean, how huge is that for you?
It's disappointing, right? I mean, I wish there was more of us because the Danica era has passed.
You were running in the top 20 before your shoe literally melted from the heat. Tell us about that. That's not normal, right?
The grip tape interacted with the shoe and it basically stuck my foot to the pedal. So I was trying to come off the brake and I left foot brake, so it's not the end of the world.
NASCAR can be particularly tough for open wheel drivers. Tony Stewart made the leap look easy, but even top level talents have struggled. Why do you think that is?
If you look at Jimmy Johnson, who I think is one of the best drivers in the world, he went to IndyCar and wasn't one of the best drivers in IndyCar because, again, he didn't have that programming. I think some people are special.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Andrew Whitelaw. This is Essentially Sports. And at Lucky Dog on Track, our NASCAR sub-brand, we've got to say a big thank you to all our subscribers. We've amassed over 200,000 of them over the year, over 190 editions with millions of opens from old school NASCAR fans to the new school as well, as we march into a very exciting era for the sport. So today, when Katherine Legge returned to NASCAR Cup Series competition this year, the first woman to do so since Danica Patrick, we knew we had to sit down with her. A fellow Brit, it's an absolute honour to have you with us. A career that spans IndyCar, Le Mans, Formula E and more, from melting souls in Mexico and making history at Long Beach. An absolute legend of the game. Katherine, lovely to see you. How you doing?
Thank you. That was quite an introduction. I appreciate that. I will pay you later.
How did you fall in love with this sport?
I actually feel, I was telling somebody at the gym today, I feel incredibly lucky that I have something I'm so passionate about still, blah, 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 years later, right? Like I fell in love with it when I was 9 years old and it was go-kart racing. It was back in England, still British, even though you can probably hear a slight American twang because I've been over here for most of my adult life now. I loved the competition. I loved the adrenaline. I loved the technical aspect, the challenge, the competition with yourself as well as other people. Like there was so many different things to keep you entertained. I'm not really a car person per se. Like I don't get super excited looking at some cars. But I think it's the competition and it's a sport and I love it so much and I still love it. I don't do it for the sake of doing it. I do it because I love it. And going to NASCAR this year has also given me like a renewed sense of vigor about it because it's a new challenge.
You must have so many crazy stories in your career, but at the Viva Mexico 250, you were running in the top 20 before your shoe literally melted from the heat. Tell us about that. That's not normal, right?
Well, actually, I was running in the top 20 until I got Hocevar'd because that little pain in the butt. I think I'm in line behind like 20 other drivers, but not a fan at the moment. He blocked me in qualifying and then he spun me in the race, which cost us at least a top 25, which for my second ever cup race I was not mad about, right? I mean, it's not a great result, but it's still, I'm learning, it's getting better. But my shoe, it did kind of melt. So what happened was that we put grip tape on the metal pedal. So the grip tape is stuck to the pedal and the grip tape feels a little bit like very fine sandpaper. And so what it does is it stops your foot sliding on a metal pedal if it gets hot or if some liquid gets between it or whatever. So the grip tape melted off the pedal and interacted with my shoe, and so the heat, because those pedal boxes get really hot, some people wear these like heel protector things. I don't like it because I like to be able to feel what's going on as much as possible. And the grip tape interacted with the shoe and it basically stuck my foot to the pedal. So I was trying to come off the brake and I left foot brake, so it's not the end of the world until you need to use the clutch. But it does, the last bit of modulation, the last bit of coming off the brake, it does definitely affect it because it's that sticky feeling. So that was annoying, but they fixed it. We've got some new grip tape apparently that is more heat resistant, I guess.
So all sorted. Okay, modern science. Lovely.
Technology these days.
Yeah, well, we mentioned at the top, first woman since Danica Patrick in 2018 to compete in NASCAR Cup Series racing. I mean, how huge is that for you?
It's disappointing, right? I mean, I wish there was more of us. I feel like we would have our own little community if there were. But it is what it is. I'm used to being one of very few women. And I think it's disappointing because the Danica era has passed. So if you think about it, back in the early 2000s, you had Danica coming up through. You had me, you had Simona, you had Bia, you had, there was a handful of us, which followed on from the Janet Guthries and the Lynn St. James. And there was this like snowball effect, and Sarah Fisher. And so we kind of got going, and there was more, and it looked like it was fanning out and it was going to be a thing. And now that kind of generation, I'm the last one hanging on. And it's like there are no new ones coming through. Jamie tried to come up through IndyCar and got as far as Indy Lights, won a race, did really well, but then deflected back to Europe. And I don't see anybody else. Actually, we had Alice out of the W Series. She came over and did some sports car races with us, 1 or 2, I think. And she was decent. She was really good. So I kind of wished that she had also carried on. But this new generation of women drivers now are either driving for the Iron Dames or they're driving in the F1 Academy. And I don't see anybody coming out of the F1 Academy or the W Series apart from Jamie. She was the only one. Name me another driver who's made it pro from there. Because I think the more that it's accepted that it is segregated, the less we will progress. And I'm disappointed, honestly. I'm happy that they get the opportunity to race that they wouldn't necessarily already get. But there has to be a better way of getting them out and getting them skill sets that we had to learn driving against the best of the best. And it was like sink or swim. And so I don't want to be the only one. I want to hand over the baton. I want to have a myriad of other young girls that I can mentor and teach and bring up through and that are tough enough to survive in this brutal sport without feeling like they need to drive in a girl-only series.
So broadly speaking, what changes would you like to see? How would you like to see things improve?
Oh, I don't know. That's above my pay grade. I would like to see some of them doing other things. And so the dames are. So drivers like Doriane, she's doing it, but she's also doing other series, which I think is what is going to sharpen her skill set and get her ready for whatever else may come in the future. And so I think more drivers need to do the other things too. And I know that it's hard to find funding to do the other things, but if you want it badly enough, you find a way to make it happen, right? And so unless you're driving against the best of the best, you're not going to become the best. And the F1 Academy is not driving against the best. So they need to get out of it and drive in European F3 or something, or Indy Lights, something brutal, something that's going to kick their butt and realize what kind of work they have to put in to do it. And I think that's the only thing that's going to make the next generation transcend the lower formula into the big leagues. I think there are some over here in the NASCAR world that are trying to make their way through. Like, I'm really impressed with Lainey Buse. She's doing a good job. And there are a couple who are, but they're not doing it in an all-female series. They're doing it in ARCA or whatever it may be.
I read somewhere that you broke Kimi Räikkönen's lap record in the UK. Can you walk us through what happened there?
That was in Formula Renault. That was like 22 years ago now. 2002, maybe?
That's very cool.
I'm aging myself. So it was just in a Formula Renault, and it was one of the first things that kind of put me on the map and made me interesting to people, which it was my first pole position in Formula Renault. I had one in Formula Ford, but it was my first one in Renault, and I jumped the start. I was so nervous, and yeah, it was, and then I got taken out of the race, but I got pole, and so that was one of my early claim to fames, and one of the things that kind of set me apart, and also one of the things that keeps you going. You know, if you keep having the success, and if you look at that field, Lewis Hamilton was in it, Jamie Green was in it, like a bunch of people who have withstanded the test of time in professional motorsports. They were in the field, and so I felt like I was validated, I guess, at that time. It gave me the motivation to do more.
Very cool story. For you, having raced in so many different cars with so much experience in different tracks, what do you love about NASCAR? What are the biggest challenges?
Oh, I love it so much. I was talking to Lynn St. James about this at Pikes Peak at the weekend. And she's like, why do you love it so much? And she's like, the cars, they're like big and burly and beastie. And I'm like, exactly. They're everything that I love about car racing. It's like the champ car. It's like the stock car version of the champ car. It is, you have to wrestle it, right? Like, it's not refined. And some of the sports cars and the prototypes that I've driven before now, they're very technologically advanced and they're very refined, and you have to be really smooth and really precise, and it's tiny inputs, and it's all about what buttons you're pushing and all the things. Whereas there's no buttons. There's no pit lane speed limit button. There's basically you, an H pattern gearbox in an Xfinity car, or a sequential one in a Cup car, and the racetrack, and the tires go off, and it gets hot, and it just feels like, I don't know. It feels like racing. It feels like racing used to be back in the day. It's just special.
Not quite pure.
Yeah. And it's the noise and the emotion that it evokes. And I think it depends what you grew up loving and watching and being interested in. I grew up watching Formula One when they were big, you know, when like Nigel Mansell was racing and Ayrton Senna, and they were big burly beasts to fight. And then also British touring cars, because I loved it. And those cars, the drivers had personalities. The cars were fun to watch. It was like Mortal Kombat on the track, because you get taken out or you get pushed around. And so that's what made me fall in love with motor racing, and this feels like a very Americanized version of that, if I'm honest.
Is there any NASCAR legends that have caught your eye or you'd love to go wheel to wheel with?
I mean, I was fortunate. I did a couple of Xfinity races in 2018, and that's when I realized I loved it. And I got to be, I would say race against, but I was on the same track as Bill Elliott, which was kind of cool because he was a legend. And then every time I see Dale Jr. Earnhardt, I'm like, oh my God, it's Dale Jr. Or Jimmy Johnson, or any of them really, because I didn't grow up around them. I didn't grow up wanting to be a NASCAR driver. I just knew of them, and they were legendary. I mean, Kyle Larson is one of the best drivers in the world, self-proclaimed, but still, I agree with him. And I just think that these guys, they're really freaking good. They're so good. And the reason they're so good is because they are driving something every single week, if not more than one thing. And imagine that level of experience and that level of programming your subconscious gets. Like in open wheel or in sports cars, you race 12 times a year and you don't really get to test because they keep the cost down. Like, it's not the same. I feel like I have decades less experience than they do in real terms, even though I've got more experience than most people in open wheel and sports cars. So I don't know. I think there's so many cool. I also embarrassing fact about Katherine. I loved the movie Talladega Nights, and I know it has no basis in reality, but whenever I watch it all the time, and it makes me happy, right? And so when I did Talladega for the first time ever, I'd never been there before, and I did Talladega this year, and I couldn't help myself but being like shake and bake. And I so badly want Will Ferrell to come to the next Talladega and carry my helmet.
Yes, why wouldn't you? That's
Right?
amazing. Love that. Yeah, I was going to ask you. I mean, you've already kind of hinted at it, but NASCAR can be particularly tough for open wheel drivers. Tony Stewart made the leap look easy, but even top level talents have struggled. Why do you think that is?
I think it's programming. I think that you look at Montoya and Dario and even Elio this year, they don't have that subconscious bank of knowledge that is programmed into every fiber of your being that the NASCAR drivers do. And it's the same vice versa. If you look at Jimmy Johnson, who I think is one of the best drivers in the world, he went to IndyCar and wasn't one of the best drivers in IndyCar because, again, he didn't have that programming. I think some people are special and some people are learned, and I think that it just depends. I think it's just experience, and I think if you want something badly enough, you'll find a way to make it happen, as I said before. And I think the Montoyas of the world were not going to be beaten by it, and so they just kept on keeping on, and they became pretty damn good. So I think it's experience. I think it's who you surround yourself with and who teaches you, and I think it's how well you program your brain for that form of racing. I think I'm lucky in a way because I've driven so many different kinds of cars. So I'm kind of more used to jumping in something different, but also I'm struggling in the races this year up until the last sort of stint. And that's twofold. That's because I'm getting used to the car on the track and the tracks I've never been to before. And it's also, you dial the car in, like you make changes in every pit stop in NASCAR, which you don't, I guess you do that in IndyCar with the wing and stuff, but you do it in the car too. So I basically get to the last stage or stint in the race, and my crew chief and I have worked together well enough to get the car in a place that I want it to be in, because there's no testing. That's the other thing, there's no testing in NASCAR. Not really. So you're using the race as a test. By the end of the races, I would say pretty much 90% of the races I've done, we've actually been competitive at the end. And if we started the race where we finished, we'd be starting in the top half and like making the same progression again. But it's just time. And I have to do the best that I can do with what I have. Would I love to go testing for a few months before I hit the track and like had to do all that in the public eye? Absolutely. Is that an option? Absolutely not. So I'm making the best of it, and I'm enjoying every minute, and I could give less than zero monkeys what the general public thinks, because I think I'm doing a good job.
What do you think of the winning in playoff format? If you're outside the top 30, you still can still make the playoffs. Richard Petty's been critical of it. I mean, you know how hard it is to grind out those points. What do you think of the format?
Honestly, I haven't given it any thought. It's not anything, because I haven't done full season. It's not something that I have to worry about. I know that NASCAR does a really good job for the fans, right? They have a massive fan base. The TV viewership is bonkers. It's like 2 million people watched it this weekend, or whatever it may be. So, I mean, you can't fault them for what they're doing and how they're doing it, because it is the biggest motorsport in North America. And yeah, is there a better way? I don't know. Will I feel a way about it when I do go full time? If I go full time, maybe. But right now, I've got other things to worry about.
In 2005, you became the first woman to win a major open wheel race in North America, Long Beach. Unbelievable scenes. And what did that mean to you personally? And to do that, I mean, you've got so many milestones and so many records as a female in motor racing as well. What does all this mean to you?
I always struggle with the female bit, right? Like I was explaining before. I think I just want to be the best race car driver that I can be. Uh, whether that is black, white, male, female, who cares? I just want to be the best driver. And that was a defining moment for me and my career as a driver because I had to do something incredibly uncomfortable and go to Cosworth in England and basically stalk Kevin Kalkoven, who owned the Champ Car Series at the time and was over there buying Cosworth, and beg him for an opportunity because we didn't have family money. I didn't have any big sponsors. And I wanted to be in the States because there was more opportunities, especially for women at that time. And so I got the opportunity. He gave me 6 races, I think it was. I loved the team that I drove for in Atlantics. I was part of the family, and they are the reason that I am sitting here talking to you right now. Jim and Pam Griffith from Polestar. They gave me a glowing report to Kevin when we tested in Phoenix. And so he said, yeah, you got the first 6 races. And we went out and won, obviously, Long Beach, but it wasn't after some trials and tribulations. So I crashed in qualifying, got my fastest lap taken away, had to start from the back, had to make my way through the field to win. And I think that made everybody kind of sit up and take notice. And okay, it wasn't the strongest field at that time. There was probably only like 6 or 7 actually really good drivers. But still, it was a defining moment in my career because Kevin then supported me for the rest of the season and put me in the Champ Car the following year. And it again made me believe in myself, and confidence sometimes is everything. And so it was another defining moment in why I'm here, for sure.
Do you think about legacy? Is there a standout moment for you? What would you like to be remembered for?
That's a good question because I wanna leave a legacy. I've tried to give back. I was the first female driver ambassador for the Women in Motorsports Commission with the FIA, and I tried to do a lot with them. I've tried to help Lynn St. James and what she's doing over here. And I've brought a number of female drivers up and through. I tried to do an all-female car several times in IMSA and sports cars. And so I feel like it's my duty in a way. I want to do it. I want to see the next generation of women succeed because I know that we are capable, and I don't want it to get lost in the segregation. So I feel passionate about helping them, and also it's the only thing I know anything about, right? Like I've just been driving my entire life, and it's all I know, and it's a weird life, and there are not many people with that shared life experience. I was talking to Christina Nielsen, who was my teammate in IMSA for a year. And I don't know that you could talk to many people who would understand the good times and the bad times that we've been through as a woman in racing, because you are a bit outcast, you're a bit ostracized, you're a bit of a novelty, but you get some opportunities because of it. And so it kind of evens itself out, but also you very much feel the glare sometimes. And so it's a very blessed, #blessed, life, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I love it so much. But you have to develop a very thick skin, and it's definitely a unique experience.
Well, in terms of opening doors, is there any interesting opportunities outside of racing for you because of what you've achieved? I mean, Amazon Prime released 2 NASCAR documentaries. Are we going to see you pop up in a Fast and Furious movie one day? Anything like that you want to do?
So I actually have a podcast called Throttle Therapy, and I was interviewing and talking to a friend of mine, Paul Dollenbach, who is a legend up Pikes Peak and has a very famous history and family, as you know. His brother Wally obviously drove NASCAR for a number of years. And he does commercials. And so he was telling me on this podcast about the commercials that he does and how the stunt driving works and how he does all this driving stuff. And I was like, you know what? That sounds actually really cool. I should be a body double for an actress in some movie or something. But in all honesty, I haven't given it any thought or consideration, because I also feel like the moment you do is the moment that you've decided that you're not going to race anymore. Like, so right now I just want to be a race car driver, and then maybe I just want to go run in the woods with my dog and enjoy the lake and help the next Katherine or the next Danica or the next whoever she may be, Lainey, up through the ranks and enjoy somebody else's success.
Sounds like a pretty cool plan. We have some rapid fire questions for you. So,
Shoot.
Is there a track that you've loved that hasn't loved you back?
Road America.
Night race or day race?
Night race.
Any pre-race rituals?
Habits more than rituals. I wipe my feet to make sure there's nothing on them on the tarmac before I get in the car. I always put my suit on the same way. I always do my belts up the same way. I didn't actually realize that was one. Sorry, I know this is rapid fire. But I was sat at Pikes Peak and somebody else did my belt up in a different sequence. And it freaked me out, and I had to undo them and do them up the right way again. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm more superstitious than I realized.
One word to describe you on track.
Focused.
And one thing that fans may be surprised to learn about you.
Okay, I'm actually shy, and I have to force myself to do all the media and the meet and greets and the sponsorship stuff, because it's not a natural thing for me.
That is surprising. Very good at it. We have a question from our senior writer who's going to be writing up the articles from this interview, and she asks, looking back, is there a particular moment or decision in your career that you consider a significant what if, one that could have changed everything?
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't my decision, but I tested for Minardi in Vallelunga at the end of 2005, and I'm pretty sure if they had not sold out to Red Bull at that time, I would have had the opportunity to be one of the drivers the following year. And so that was my one and only shot at F1. That didn't happen. And I'm not mad it didn't happen, because I raced in Europe afterwards in DTM, and it's very different to racing over here. It's very political. It's just a different vibe, and I love the friendly team aspect of it over here a little bit more. So I'm very grateful for the career that I've had, but definitely a different path.
And we have 3 fan-submitted questions via Lucky Dog on Track. So if you're watching, subscribe, join the 200,000 subscribers who love NASCAR. First question is, at 44, most drivers are slowing down or racing just for fun. Do you believe it's still possible to start or restart a NASCAR career at that age and be competitive in today's equipment?
Well, that's a very honest question. I love NASCAR fans because they're so passionate. However, if you think about it logically, if I didn't think that, I wouldn't be doing it, right? I think that I am as fit and strong and switched on as I've ever been, probably more so. So I don't feel like my age hinders me in any way, shape, or form. I feel like the experience is a benefit. And I think that it may be different with men or women, because I think we definitely take a while longer to come on in our careers from a confidence standpoint. Like if you look at coaching a woman race car driver and coaching a man race car driver, the men inevitably believe in themselves to the point of thinking that they're the best thing since sliced bread, whereas the women are usually a little more insecure and question themselves, and so it takes a while to like program them. And so I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life and I'm ready for this challenge. I've got a renewed sense of like, let's go after it. And so I think it's only in the minds of, I don't know, the periphery, right, that think that. And I know that age is a thing, but if you look at some of the best drivers, they are my age or around my age. You know, you've got Scott Dixon, you've got Denny Hamlin, you've got a bunch of people who are, okay, they're not trying a different sport like I am, but they're still at the top of their game. And so I don't think there's any reason why I can't do it. And I mean, maybe all of a sudden in a couple of years' time or something, my eyesight will fail me, or I won't have the same reaction times, or something else might happen. But right now, I'm good.
That was a very nuanced and respectful answer. Thank you. Second fan question was, who's been your biggest inspiration in racing? Someone who shaped your mindset or driving style?
I think driving style is something you're inherently born with. And you can make yourself be more aggressive or less aggressive, or you can try and be less emotional in the car, or you can like play with it a little bit, but it's basically you're smooth or you're not, or it is who you are as a person. So I don't think that anybody's shaped that. People have tried. And I definitely think that, again, with experience comes wisdom, and you realize that driving from an emotional place is not the best idea. And so you manage to control your emotions more and be more calculated about things. Same with risk, right? Like when you're 18, you think you're invincible, and then you crash big one time and you realize you're not. And so then your calibration for your risk assessment is dialed in a little bit more. So I think that is just a natural process. But my dad's been a big influence on me. He never drove, but he's always been there with me. It's been as much his career as it has mine, and he's always been my sounding board. And then I'm very lucky that I have good friends that I can ask questions of and rely on, and for different things. Everybody's good at different things, and so I survey my friends for the things that they're good at, and ask their help and advice and look up to them for that. But I will say, if you're looking for somebody who's like the ultimate badass, that would be Michelle Mouton, right? I mean, she won on a global stage in World Rally when it was really freaking hard. So, like, I don't think anybody, at least female-wise, has come anywhere close to that in recent years.
Last one then, would you consider going full-time in NASCAR, or do you feel part-time roles allow for the right kind of balance at this point in your career?
So I'm crazy, as we've already established, and yes, I would absolutely do full-time NASCAR. Everybody's advising against it. And like, no, you should just cherry pick the cool races and go and do those for your sponsors. And while that's cool and all, I'm not in the car week in, week out like these other guys are. And I feel like it's harder then to be competitive. And I want to test myself and see ultimately where I belong. Is that P1? Is that P20? Where is that? Like, how good can I get? And I think that ultimately the only way of doing that is doing it full time and giving yourself that chance. And so we're actually thinking about next season at the moment and what that looks like. And I'm the one pushing for full season. It's a lot in NASCAR, right? 38 race weekends a year. And I have a beautiful lake house that I would really like to get out on the lake and have some R&R. But I just want to give myself that last shot in NASCAR to see what I can do without any excuses. And I feel like the lake will probably still be here in 3 or 4 years' time. And I just don't want to look back and think what if, or, wonder how good in NASCAR I would have been. I still have other Indy 500s that I really want to do too. And I love sports car racing. And so until my body or my mind fails me in some way, shape or form, I want to do all the things.
Yeah, I think that mentality makes you who you are. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, Katherine. All the best. Thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic. Very much appreciated.